You're watching CelebWatch Daily, where fame meets mystery, and the biggest stars often carry the darkest secrets. Tonight, we rewind time to June 25, 2009. The world thought it lost an icon to a heart attack. But the real story? It's far more chilling than anyone imagined. Lies. Secrets. Silence. Was Michael Jackson just another celebrity lost to addiction? Or was he a victim of something deeper? What happened to Michael Jackson? Stay with us. The truth is coming, and it may change everything you thought you knew. June 25, 2009. A day when televisions blinked in disbelief. A day when fans around the world froze in their tracks. Some cried, others screamed. Some simply couldn't move. Michael Jackson, the boy who danced through Motown into global immortality, was dead. He was 50 years old. Just days away from launching his massive comeback tour, This Is It, a spectacle that promised the rebirth of the greatest performer the world had ever seen. Instead, all the world got was a breaking news alert. Michael Jackson dies of cardiac arrest. But was it just cardiac arrest? If you looked closely enough, behind the glittering glove, the surgically sculpted face, and the moonwalk, you'd see a man held together by threads, a man haunted by pain, addicted to silence, and surrounded by enablers wearing stethoscopes. What killed Michael Jackson wasn't just a drug. It was everything. For decades, Michael Jackson wore pain like a second skin, hidden beneath sequin jackets and stage lights. It began in 1984. While filming a Pepsi commercial, a pyrotechnic accident set his scalp on fire in front of a live audience. Flames engulfed his hair. Crew members rushed in. What should have been a 10-second shot turned into a lifelong injury. He suffered second- and third-degree burns. But what hurt more than his skin was what followed. The introduction of painkillers. From that point on, the king of pop lived in agony. Surgeries, skin grafts, and dependency on prescription medication became a revolving door. Years later, in 1999, during a concert in Munich, an aerial bridge malfunction sent him plummeting 50 feet to the stage. He hit the ground hard. The crowd screamed. But Michael, ever the showman, finished the song. Later, he collapsed backstage. Spinal damage. Neurological complications. More drugs. Stronger pills. Behind every high note and flawless spin, Michael Jackson was silently screaming. But the world only saw the legend. No one listened to the man. As the pain deepened, another monster crept into his life, insomnia. Michael couldn't sleep. Sometimes 3, 4, even 5 nights would pass without a wink. His body was weary, his mind exhausted, but his brain refused to shut down. He called it pure torture. So, he turned to a solution. Not warm milk or melatonin. But something darker. Something so potent, it's usually used to sedate patients for surgery. Propofol. Nicknamed milk of amnesia for its white, creamy appearance, propofol was no sleeping pill. It was a hospital-grade anesthetic. But Michael Jackson began using it, at home. Night after night. He even gave it a nickname, My Milk. The danger? Propofol shuts off the brain's ability to control breathing. Without hospital equipment, it's a deadly game of Russian roulette. And yet, it was the only way Michael could sleep. In early 2009, Michael made a daring move. He signed a massive contract with concert promoter AEG to stage a 50-show residency at London's O2 Arena. It was called This Is It, his return, his redemption, his final triumph. The world rejoiced. Tickets sold out in minutes. But behind the scenes, panic was brewing. Michael hadn't performed at full throttle in years. His body wasn't ready. His stamina was gone. And now, he had just weeks to prepare. Rehearsals began at the Staples Center in Los Angeles. Hours of dancing, singing, choreographing, reworking, and reshaping. Michael gave everything he had, and more. But when the lights dimmed and the rehearsals ended, Michael went home. Not to rest, but to be put under. To survive the stress, the pain, and the insomnia, Michael needed help. So, he requested something unusual in his AEG contract. A personal physician. AEG agreed. And Michael brought in Dr. Conrad Murray, a doctor he had worked with before, someone he trusted. Or thought he did. Dr. Murray wasn't just administering pills. He was creating a makeshift hospital inside Michael's bedroom. Medical IVs. Vials of propofol. Benzodiazepines. Oxygen tanks. All tucked away inside 100 North Carrollwood Drive, Jackson's rented LA mansion. Each night, after rehearsal, Michael would return home, and Dr. Murray would tuck him in within 4 drip. There were no monitors. No ventilators. No crash cart. Just a pop star, a desperate doctor, and the most dangerous drug cocktail known to man. June 24th. Michael performed his last rehearsal at Staples Center. Witnesses said he was energetic, focused, even joyful. He practiced Earth's Song with power. Danced with precision. Smiled at the crew. He was finally ready. At 12:30 a.m., he returned home. Dr. Murray followed. And like so many nights before, the doctor began administering medications to help Michael sleep. First, a series of benzodiazepines. When those didn't work, Murray gave Michael his usual, propofol. He set up the 4. The milk began to drip. And sometime between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m., Michael Jackson slipped under. Propofol is no ordinary drug. Its effects are fast, but the margin between sedation and respiratory failure is razor thin. In hospitals, patients on propofol are monitored with machines. Heart rate, blood pressure, and oxygen saturation, all tracked in real time. Michael had none of that. Dr. Murray left the room. Minutes later, Michael stopped breathing. Not from a heart attack, but from respiratory arrest. His brain had shut down the command to breathe. His lungs simply stopped. And when Dr. Murray returned, Michael was already in crisis. Instead of giving oxygen or using proper resuscitation tools, Murray performed CPR on a soft bed. A fatal mistake. He didn't call 911 immediately. He scrambled. He panicked. Precious minutes slipped away. By the time paramedics arrived, Michael was gone. The king of pop, silenced not by age, not by violence, but by sedation gone horribly wrong. In the hours that followed, chaos erupted. Conrad Murray claimed Michael had self-administered the fatal dose. He said he left the room briefly, just a quick phone call, and returned to find Jackson unresponsive. But toxicology reports told a different story. Blood levels of propofol were far beyond what would have resulted from self-administration. The medical setup in the room? Incomplete. Incompetent. Dangerous. Phone records showed Murray was distracted, making calls, texting, emailing, during the exact time Jackson needed him most. In 2011, Murray stood trial for involuntary manslaughter. He was found guilty. But the truth is, Murray wasn't the only one who failed Michael. Everyone knew Michael was struggling, with pain, with sleep, with anxiety. AEG executives. Family. Staff. Even fans had noticed his frailty. But instead of rest, he was pushed. Instead of rehab, he was rehearsed. Because the Michael Jackson on stage was worth billions. The Michael Jackson in recovery? Not so much. Emails between AEG execs later surfaced, raising questions about whether they ignored warning signs. One even joked about Michael being a freak. No one intervened. Because as long as the show went on, the money kept flowing. Michael Jackson didn't have to die. A monitored hospital stay. A detox plan. A proper diagnosis. These things might have saved him. But instead, he died chasing peace in a bottle of white liquid. Alone, under sedation, in a rented mansion, just weeks away from the biggest comeback of his life. The news of his death was like a bomb. TV stations went dark. Cities held vigils. Fans collapsed in the streets. Candlelight tributes flooded Neverland. Even enemies praised him. But for all the mourning, there was one question whispered everywhere. Today, Michael Jackson is remembered for his music, his dance, and his unmatched legacy. But behind the magic was a man torn apart by pain, pressure, and people who failed to protect him. He changed music forever. He broke racial barriers. He gave us Thriller, Billie Jean, Smooth Criminal. But in the end, all he wanted was sleep. Michael Jackson didn't just die. He was allowed to fall, slowly, silently, while the world watched and cheered. But here on CelebWatch Daily, we ask the hard questions, because sometimes, even legends need justice. This was the final curtain. This was the untold truth. This was Michael Jackson's last performance. He gave us the moonwalk, the glove, the magic. But behind the spotlight was a man crying for help, and a world too focused on his fame to hear him. Michael Jackson didn't just die. He was failed by those who claimed to care, and a system that cashed in on his pain. Here at CelebWatch Daily, we don't just cover the headlines. We pull back the curtain. If this story moved you, like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the truths they try to hide. This is CelebWatch Daily, where fame meets mystery, and every legend has a hidden chapter.